All right. Hello and welcome to the Networking Partners Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Curtin. I'm founder and CEO of Next Level Sales Performance. We help companies accelerate their sales revenue and move to the next level. So today I'd like to introduce my special guest. His name is Dave Casey, and Dave is the CEO and founder of Calvus Cloud Consulting. So Dave, if you would introduce yourself, tell us a little about your background and your company, and feel free to go.
Sure. Thanks, Jimmy. Well, Calvus Cloud Consulting, we actually work in two different service areas. One is we work in the IT security space and help companies define their IT security strategy, how that applies to cloud computing, and then actually help them migrate their resources, IT resources, from premises to cloud, which sounds simple, but actually a lot more to that uh, in that area. The second thing we do work with is companies that, we'll get into this a little bit later of how I got where I am, but companies that are in transition and actually from an ownership transition standpoint. So business owners that may are contemplating either recapitalizing their business, maybe taking on a partner, selling their business and exiting it, and things along those lines. And we help work through that entire process with folks.
That's great. That's great. Well, I've got a few questions I wanted to ask you and kind of get your opinion on. So let's start with the first one. So, David, in business, how do you define integrity?
Wow, that's a super question. So, and this is I've been asked this question before. It's interesting. Integrity. The simple answer is, do what's right, even though no one's watching, right? But I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's integrity comes into how you react and how you uh, the decisions you make when you're under pressure. And it could be financially, could be in a business situation where you're asked to do something that might compromise your core values, or even when there's just a communication breakdown between you and perhaps your client or an employee or a business partner. So I see integrity as defending what's right, uh, even though there's no benefit at all to you. And then it's really being unmasked. I mean, you really, which is kind of in the news these days, but is really when you go to bat for your clients, your team members, your peers, and your business partners.
Right. Great answer. Great answer. So, Dave, with your company, what's the value proposition of what your company sells?
Well, I think we try to present value in two different ways. One is in the first instance that I talked about, the security and the cloud migration side. Been through that process many times with different companies in different industries, different verticals, and there's some unique challenges, for each of those. And so I think the value proposition we bring is we've been there, we've done it, and we've learned the hard way, I think, on how to do some of those things, and we can smooth that path for our clients. The other thing is we've got access to resources really across the globe that we can bring to play. So although we're a small company, we kind of act like a big company because we can bring a lot of time and talent to a particular project. I think on the second side, where it's the business transition thing, I've been through that myself. You were part of that,
Right.
so that I've founded and grown a company and then ultimately exited that company. And I certainly have, again, a large uh, family or cadre of professionals that have been down that road. And so when somebody's looking at that transition, and it's probably the most important financial transition most small business owners will do is when they exit their company. And I really feel like that we have just a really, really strong bench of folks to bring forward to that.
That's great. That's great. So, what do you think is the sweet spot for your business?
Typically, our size companies that we engage with are somewhere between 100 and 1,000 employees, and usually multi-location, multi-state, in some cases multinational type companies. And in particularly in the cloud transition area, we're seeing where there's actually business value to having some of your intellectual property or assets in multiple countries. In some.
Right. Good. Good. So what's your every business has to prospect, I mean, in order to survive. So what's your favorite tool, your favorite business tool to use when it comes to prospecting?
Well, I've got two. So one that we use extensively is LinkedIn. And one of the things there is, I think, ensure that your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn activities are all business focused and not so much personal or fun focused. That's more of a Facebook thing, I think.
Right.
So having a clearly defined LinkedIn presence and also utilizing it correctly and actually using all the power that's built into LinkedIn, obviously, but also being able to uh, use that as a tool to do research. The second thing is person-to-person networking, and I make it a point to belong to several different organizations that are not necessarily designed as networking organizations, but they're more, in many cases, a servant leadership type organization, and be there with peers, and not just if you're in sales. It's great to hang out with other salespeople, but that's not the most effective use of your time. The most effective thing is to hang out with the people that you would consider prospective customers. So kind of meet them where they are, and do that rather than just kind of hang out where it's comfortable.
Right. Right. Well, having known you for several years, I would say you are definitely Mr. Networking. You do a great job of that. And that's important.
Appreciate
You
that.
taught me a lot about why that is important. So another thing that's important when you're talking about clients and prospects is staying top of the mind. Is there anything particular that you do to stay top of the mind?
Yeah, there's a few things. One thing is, I think, constantly be in touch with people that are, current customers, perhaps past customers, and prospective customers. And in doing that, it's more than, I think, calling them up or sending an email and saying, "Hey, got anything for me today?" That's kind of a one-sided way to look at things. I think a really good way to do that is to look for opportunities to bring value to them. So it might be an invitation to a seminar or a presentation or an event that you think they might be interested in. It might be sending them a book, or referring a book to them, and also referring people to them on a regular basis that might potentially help them, and that you may get nothing from, other than you gave them a nice referral. But I think
Right.
it's a combination of those things. I think in you're not seeking business, you're just trying to help. You know.
Right. I know you've been in sales. We're all in sales, right? No matter what we do. But how do you know when a salesperson's doing a great job?
Oh, that's interesting. And as a sales, kind of born as a salesperson, I guess, or educated as one, I enjoy being sold to by a good salesperson. Whether I'm buying a car or a suit or a pair of shoes, I really enjoy the process. And I'm probably a pretty easy sale because I have a lot of empathy for the salesperson. Uh, but great salespeople, I think, it's part science, part art. Certainly, there's a lot of blocking and tackling that needs to be done in the sales world. You need to do those things like we just discussed, of staying in touch with people, adding value in every conversation you have with them. Looking for ways to help them, whether it helps you or not. The other side of that, I think, from salespeople, it's persistence and being out there, staying top of mind with the people. And then, you've got to have a system. You've got to have a sales process.
Yep.
You got to stick to the process, and it has to be a written, well-defined process. It can't be, man, I'm just good at this, and I'll just wing it. You've got to be very, very deliberate, I think, in terms of reporting to yourself, reporting to your sales team, if you're a member of the team, and so on.
Yeah,
So
you definitely used one of my favorite things, and that's the sales process. And it's
mhm.
remarkable to me how many companies that I meet with that really don't have down on paper what their sales process is. They may
Yeah,
have it what they think it is in their mind, but they really don't have it defined. And
yeah, and what we
that's
see
so
there
important.
is if you've got an individual contributor that's just really good, right, and he has his own process. It may not be the company's process, but it's not down on paper, and it's not defined, and it's not something that's easy to manage as a sales manager.
Right.
And I know in working with you, you've been a master at taking different people that have different capabilities and really getting them on the same team and maybe helping people learn from each other. But I think it is important that there has to be one process. We're all going to follow it,
Yep.
and
Yep.
certainly that's and I see that throughout business. I mean, that's part of our practice is to look at the process on the financial side, the marketing side, the sales side, the HR side, engineering, everything that happens within an organization. There should be well-defined processes that are well documented. That
Very
adds a
true.
tremendous amount of value to an organization.
Yep. That's very true. So, last question, Dave. So, what's the best advice you can give about closing more business?
Wow, interesting. Well, obviously following the process is very, very important. I think that there's some things that just never go out of style in business, and one of them is you've got to have a lot of opportunities in the funnel. And they all mature at different times. So it's important to have them in all different stages. And hopefully they don't all mature at the same time and then you're really scrambling.
Right.
Or none of them mature at the same time and then you're really scrambling. So,
Yeah.
so I think that is it. The other thing I think that, just to get more at bats, there's many things that you can do. And part of that is referrals. And we talked a little bit about, how do you fill that funnel? And I think that people are somewhat reluctant to ask customers for referrals. Certainly, it's always good to ask at all times. Even if you haven't closed a sale with somebody, sometimes they'll give you a referral. They're continuing to work with you. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but I've had people give me referrals when we hadn't closed a contract yet. Certainly, you ask from existing customers, but also people outside the normal sphere as well, including competitors. And that's something that a lot of people, I think, shy away from. They think, well, I'm not going to talk to my competitor. I don't want to reveal anything to them.
Right.
Um, Sometimes people we think are competitors are not. They might be, just a couple degrees off of what we do. And we can add value to their client base. They can add value to ours. And I think in instances like that, they become a tremendous a resource for sales. And as you know, in my career, I've always looked for ways to continue a dialogue with competitors, and because you never know when you might be on the same side of the table
Yep.
uh, in a certain instance. So, I'm not one that burns bridges and just torches everything in my wake. Really try to embrace that.
That's true. Good. Good. So, you want to give your contact information, Dave, in case people will watch this and would like to talk to you?
Sure, sure. So our website is calvuscloud.com. My personal email or business email for that is dave.casey@calvuscloud.com.
Okay. Super. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure and enjoyed it, and always learn something every time I visit with you. And appreciate you being on the show. And we look forward to putting this out on LinkedIn and on our YouTube channel.
I appreciate it so much.
You bet.
That's right
Thanks
up
a lot.
our alley of cooperating, right?
That's right. Thanks a
Good.
lot, Dave.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.